So I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk to you guys about one of my older projects that I worked on really hard for a really long time. It is a story series called Beatrix Percival. I started writing this story when I joined a website called Steemit. Steemit is a blogging website, and very long story because it's complicated how you actually get paid, but it's a website where you had potential to get paid for the posts that you make. So think of it as it is not even the same or remotely close to, but it's like a social media website where the content that you share, instead of getting liked, it gets voted on. And so people give you upvotes instead of likes, or technically they can downvote your post too. But anyway, those upvotes are usually worth something. The website kind of has a digital currency, and like I said, it's complicated. And if you want to, you can go to steemit.com and read more about how everything works. But anyway, getting back on track. So I joined this website, steemit.com, and I decided, hey, it'd be kind of fun to just write a story, because I thought it'd be really fun to have a long running project and thing to post about. And so I decided I wanted to write kind of a magical, very adventurous storyline where my main character would be a young woman. So I, searched forever trying to figure out what I wanted to name this young woman, and I decided that I did want the series to be, the young woman would discover that she's a witch, and so I wanted it to seem just very interesting and magical, and so, I started searching online vintage names, and I came across the name Beatrix, and I was like, okay, for some reason that spoke to me above all the others, and it was just not heard of as often as some of the other vintage women's names, and so I chose that for the first name. And then I started trying to go through last names and decide on a last name. And how I ended up picking the last name, Percival, was I searched a vintage men's name website, and then found Percival and thought Beatrix Percival, it just sounded good together, and that's how the Beatrix Percival name came to be. So to give you a little more insight into the storybook, and I'll just show you, this is what the book looks like. I'm not sure. I have a little bookmark in it, but anyway, this is the Beatrix Percival series book. After I had written each part of the story on Steemit, because this is a 3-part book, I released a book. And then after the series was complete, after all 3 parts, the first book was titled Beatrix Percival. The second book was titled Beatrix Percival Retribution, and the final book was Beatrix Percival and the World of Shadows. And then, like I said, all 3 I combined later into this one book. So Beatrix Percival is a story about a young witch who goes on an adventure through some strange worlds. She encounters strange creatures and environments, and it's hard to put it into one category of what type of story is this, because it's romantic. I did not intend on this being a romance book, and it's not solid romance, but it does have, romance is quite a big part of the story. But it's a romance. It's exciting, it's dramatic, it's sad at times, it's funny at times. It has a few little tiny lessons thrown in there, but for the most part, it is just a very fast-paced story. The way that I'm sure everybody likes it, every chapter almost ends with a cliffhanger, and so did the first 2 parts. Luckily, I did not end the last part with a cliffhanger, because that would not be a good ending of the story, in my opinion. But yeah, so it's just a really fun, adventurous story, and I had so much fun writing it. when I released these chapters on Steemit, I designed covers for each chapter that went with the chapter, which was a lot of fun, playing in Photoshop and making, however I could, some of these environments or items that I would talk about in the story that didn't actually exist. Like, for instance, Miss Evelyn's security hat. And that's something in kind of the beginning chapters of the book where Beatrix and the spider visit a shop full of magical wares, and this woman is wearing a yellow hat covered in eyes that are staring around, and the reason she wears this hat is because the eyes can keep an eye on her shop while her back is turned. So it was just very fun to write, very imaginative. I had just an absolute blast with it, and I was sad to give it an ending because it is something that I could have kept going, but at the same time, I just wanted to kind of expand into other things, and after I finished Beatrix Percival, I started writing Thomas, and I also was writing The Little Book with a Big Voice, the first edition, at the same time. So, a person can't do it all, and so I, decided to give this series a fitting ending that would hopefully make everybody that read it happy, but I do have some big twists in the storyline, which I think some of the readers weren't expecting, which I know they weren't, because I think after one of them some people stopped reading, but I thought that it had a very nice ending. And so yeah, this was a really fun story to write. So anyway, getting into today, because it has been, I think I started writing this in 2015 or 16. So it's been a few years since I've written this, and yet even today I keep coming back to it, just thinking, gosh, I really enjoyed this. It was the first thing that I really ever wrote, like the first story or book. I mean, I had Halloween decorating books and some coloring books and stuff like that, but this was the first story that I ever wrote. So yeah, it's very special to me, and it's funny because even after that much time, I'll come back and look at it and go back through it and read some stuff. And recently, it's inspired me to work on some little projects with it. Like, I just created a new video trailer for the story, which was a job, but I thought it deserved it because I put so much time into this. And the story trailers that I had made before were before I knew, as people, maybe if you've watched my my other videos, in one of them I talk about how through life you kind of learn and grow, and it's exciting because you find all these new tools that you never knew existed. And so that same thing can be said just in those short few years from when I first started writing this book. I found programs and stuff and ways of making a video trailer that was more intriguing than what I had back then. So, so after, thumbing through this and looking at some of the chapters a little bit more and just kind of reminiscing, I decided to make it a new, more fitting video trailer. So I did that, and then I started playing in the Medley Music Maker program on my phone. Technically on my iPad, I should say. It's funny, that is pretty much the whole purpose why I bought this iPad, is I wanted to be able to use some of those apps that are just really hard to use on a small phone screen. So with my book Thomas, which is a romantic ghost story, I'd have to laugh because it's just like, if anybody came across me, they'd just, and the stuff that I do, they'd just think, what the heck, because there is such a big variety of the stuff that I do. And just going into that a little bit further, you know, it's sometimes depressing with this other stuff that I have created because I feel like I cannot sell it to the audiences that I have through Facebook or YouTube, because my audiences, each part of my audience follows me for a different reason. My Steam It crowd followed me for my writing. They followed me because they loved Beatrix Percival and they absolutely loved the Thomas story. But they don't really care for my decorating videos. It's funny. And then when you go to my Christopher Heidemann YouTube channel, people love my decorating videos, but then when I post like, here's a song I created for the Thomas book soundtrack that I came up with, it's like you get the single clap in the room and then a whole bunch of people like thumbs downing some of these videos because it's just nothing like what I do. And then I had people messaging me like, are you not decorating anymore? Is this what you're doing now, you know? And it was just kind of, I don't know. The world sometimes has a way of backing you into like a corner of you can only do one thing. And I love so many different things and to do so many different things. And so it can be upsetting at times when I want to share stuff that I've made, like Beatrix Percival and the Thomas story and other things that I work on, and I just feel that I can't. But that is why I created this channel, because I was going to give it a go, see what it's like to talk with people of just about everything that I do, and hopefully, you know, not lose quite as many followers as I probably would if I posted something like this in my other, or on my other channel. But anyway, getting back on track. So this Beatrix Percival book, like I said, I was going back through it again, and I had so much fun making the Thomas soundtrack that I decided, you know, the book that's probably twice the size, this one here, deserves something like that too. And since creating the Thomas soundtrack, I feel like I've gotten better at making music. When I first started using that program, I didn't know how to use all the features, but I finally figured, I think, everything out for all those features, and so it's just opened up a whole bunch of doors to different sounds and ways that you can make it sound more real, because all of this is digital instruments, you know, these aren't actually people playing the instruments, and so I wanted it to not sound like it's quite being typed out on a keyboard. So yeah, so I started working on making some songs to kind of go with certain moments in this Beatrix Percival book. I'll share at least one of them with you guys just to kind of show you what I've been working on and see what you think. But yeah, this was such a fun book. And another fun part about this book, I can probably rattle on for hours about anything, but there is a character in this book that I wrote in that is like, what do I want to say, inspired by my grandma. I wanted a way to kind of fit a character that was kind of like her in this book, and so I wrote in a character. If anybody purchases or comes across this ever, the part where Beatrix goes to, I think it's called Auntie Owl's Inn or something, that woman that runs the inn was created based off my my grandma, because my grandma loves antiques and she loves crows and owls, just as far as decorating and stuff like that. And so that's how this inn got named Auntie Owl's Inn. But also, you know, the lady has a pet crow, and she kind of makes her entrance in the story, you know, dressed very classy in high heels, because my grandma, you know, loves wearing high heels and all that stuff, and she loves bittersweet orange color, And so in this story, I had the house painted a bittersweet orange, and so I fit in a lot of little details into that character just because I thought it would be fun to fit, you know, a character like my grandma into this book. So that was a really fun thing to do. If you ever want to, you can check out this book. It is available on Amazon, but also on my website, christopherheidemann.com/bookstore, or you can just go to my website and go under the bookstore tab. I have on my website a few little snippets of different looks into, you know, what the story is actually like. I created 2 videos that have some of the writing in the videos and then kind of a background that gives you a feel for the story. So yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I do plan on trying to make more videos soon. So again, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you all have a really nice day. Beep, beep.